Good evening. I'm Shawn Childs. Good evening. I'm Shawn Childs. Probably started that a little too quick. Of fantasyanalyst.substack.com. I am going to try to do a video of a doubleheader here. I'm doing a FFPC main event, which is the entry fee for the first team when you do a main event is $2,000. If you do a second team, is $16,000. The first prize, I believe, is $1 million, and I think there's about 4,000 or so teams if it fills that you're going to have to beat to win it. It has a unique scoring system where the tight ends get 1.5 per catch. Changes the whole draft and dynamics. They have some flaws in their rules. Their league playoffs are weeks 13 and 14. And this year, there's all teams play in week 13, which is Thanksgiving week because the season starts a little earlier. Week 14, there's 6 teams off, so it's kind of a problem here. I think Houston, Denver, Baltimore, Indianapolis, New England, and Washington. It's really challenging. And then they also have an all play in week 6 when some teams have a bye week, which is another flaw in their rules. And I mentioned that in an earlier video, but I won't get into it. It's their rules. So, anyways, I have pick one in this draft. I had a slow draft for this format earlier. I had pick one. I took McCaffrey. I had that other NFFC 14-teamer. I diversified and I took Breece Hall. And this one I am going to take Lamb just to be a little bit different. But we'll see how it shakes out. So as I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a drafters best ball event, which is going to be a 30-second clock. I should be able to handle it no problem. I think I got about 35 best balls. I've done 300 of them. The player flows are about the same. I kind of know a lot of the decisions that I'm looking for. Not that they're going to be right. What I'm trying to do. I don't know what draft position I'm gonna have in that format till I submit it. But it will be interesting to see if I can pull it off. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between the two leagues, talk about different styles of playing it, what I can see, a little bit about the players, and before I go into that, I'm going to show. I just put up a draft board from this draft was from I think it was last night, yesterday afternoon or something, the 30th. So I have a kind of a reference point of how this kind of goes. But I think that in these FFPC drafts, they have the widest variation of players. Some people like the tight end, some people like running back, some people like wide receivers, and they play it different. And there's only 2 flex positions in this, so you can get away with having only 2 wide receivers, and then you could play 4 running backs. You could play 3 tight ends. So there's a lot of ways to play it. So this is going to be just, I'm going to have it as a side thing. I don't really need to know the draft flows and the decisions, but when I see a player of interest in just say White, of when I did my first one of these events, it was slow draft, and I took White in early 3rd round because I figured I started with ETN, McCaffrey, and 3 running backs to be a little different. I wanted to see who made it to me on the turn, on the 4-5 turn. It ended up being Pittman, and I took Jake Ferguson because of I wanted the tight end. So in this case, I'm starting with Lamb, and I'm going to see what happens and see what the flow is if the running backs, and make some decision there. But I'm going to just, I'll bounce to this once in a while, look at it. It's not really that important for my decision making. The queue in this draft, it's not self-correcting where if people are moving up. You kind of have to know the names and know who you're looking for. So, and I know there's some players that I like from the earlier one that are lower than they were. Wide receivers, the secondary wide receivers tend to go later in this one because of the tight ends get pushed down a little bit. So your opportunities for wide receivers in the 7th, 8th round are a lot better than in a couple of the other events. But overall, it's after a while it all washes out. There'll be that second run of tight ends, most likely, sometimes in the 10th round or so. But in this case, this draft board I'm seeing here, there's 2, 4, there's 6 of them went in the first 3 rounds, 1 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, and then 7th, 8th, and then they do kind of pump the brakes, and it really wasn't a lot the next 3 or 4 rounds. So people haven't identified who they want as the the backup tight end, but finding tight ends on the waiver wire is extremely difficult because a lot of these get held unless somebody has some injuries, and they're going to have to push somebody off the table here. So, all right, I'll try to leave the names off this. Not that it matters because they're, this format actually, people can hide their names and not know who they are, which is probably not the way it's supposed to go on. But so what I'm going to do here, this draft starts in 4 minutes. I'm going to go over the drafters thing here quickly. I have a couple of slow drafts. I just did 2. I had like $30 or something from last year, so I started 2 of them. They're going on right now. One's a couple picks away, and the other one's 10. I like the way they show. If you got drafts up here, they're kind of just show across. So when I go to the lobby here, I'll put in here that I want to enter a 12-team draft, a fast draft, and when it pops up, I will we will see what happens here. So I just want to make sure that I'm pretty sure this will be a fast draft, but I think they're pretty much the slow ones. Over ADP, join, $15. So $15, first prize is $500,000. This is total points for the season. So you got to be careful and not to take some weak links early in the year, because you can't, like a Chubb or somebody, they're not going to help you with points. Brooks of Carolina. In the other format, you can look for upside, because it's really important to be really good at the end of the season, but you still have to get there. So it'll be a little different that way. So I am going to put this in. So I am registered, and hopefully it'll pop right up here when it's ready to go with my other ones, and we'll see what happens there. But haven't done a lot of drafts this year. Last year I only did about 10 of these. It's just I did it late. I only can handle so many drafts at the same time. I am started doing slow drafts, I think July 30th, and I did. I'll end up doing 300, and it's going to take me, a little over a month. I think they both take, if on the 8-hour slow drafts, they take about, 20 days for underdog and maybe 22 for the other one, give or take. If you'll get in some drafts that move a little bit faster. So it's just something to follow here. So, all right, we're going to wait for that to pop up, hopefully. And I think I got to keep checking this and go back and forth, because I don't know if the sound, if I have the notifications on it or something like that. So here we go. I have in the queue Lamb already ready to go. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, McCaffrey, great opportunity, not really much behind him. Tyreek Hill, a little questionable, but he, explosive player last year. Hall's listed 4th on this one. Bijan Robinson 5th. And then the next big 3 receivers, St. Brown, Jamar Chase, and Jefferson. I have, I think I have a 4 and a 5 here later, and I have a pick 11. And I'll probably, in all those cases, end up with a running back that I like. I wouldn't mind having a Hall team. I can't say for sure that somebody might jump him in front of Tyreek Hill. And the other one is I liked Gibbs earlier in the season, so I probably would take my chance to take him on the turn at 11, just so I have a share of him I can root for. I'm not so much my friend that has been drafting and supporting me in this is avoiding the week 14 players. I agree with it to a point where your first probably 4 picks are kind of really important. I think if you drafted Stroud and he's a 6th round quarterback, 7th rounder, you're still going to get a pretty good quarterback if you draft accordingly, that you can get away with that. And then even I saw, I think in this draft board right here, Tank Dell, maybe it was a different draft, but Tank Dell went like almost in the 6th round of this, and it was a really, really good buy-in value. Maybe it was a draft day before, but I thought that it was kind of a break, but try to avoid the players in those. So here we are in the pre-draft, just so we have it up here. And I'm going to bounce back and forth, and I am pick 10 in this. So it's going to be a whole different thought process for me at the back end, and it'll be interesting to see how I try to pull this off down there. And but I know a couple of variations. And these also in these drafts are going to go off when the Thursday night game goes off. I'm going to do a draft after it, a $5,000 league, that the ADPs are all going to change, because whoever does good in that game, you can draft them and get their points, and somebody does poorly and they're a good player, you can sit them, or if somebody's kind of a scrub and has a good game, you can put them in your lineup. And getting a win in a short 12 weeks, in a 12-week season is kind of important. So you got to be careful somebody doesn't really stack up the points on you. So this is something that you have to pay attention to. So, all right. So I took Lamb. I'm going to bounce over here. This clock is 30 seconds. It'll probably move pretty quick, I would imagine, especially in the early rounds. But the ADPs, they're pretty easy. I got a share screen. Wouldn't that be helpful if I did the share screen and I'm doing all this talking? Sorry about that. So here we go. I'm talking, showing this stuff, and then I do it. So, all right, I'm back. So this is the Drafters software. And like I said, here I can jockey between some other drafts and show, what something's always done. It's at the top. It's pretty good. So, but this is the live one. I have pick 10, the FFPC over here. This is the draft board that I talked about that I didn't show you. This is from yesterday. And like I said, it's just more of a reference point. Not so much that I need to know it. And this one I'll put up, the draft board here is here, and this will kick in behind it. So I'll leave this up when I go back and forth, and I'll just kind of follow it here when I'm doing it. So we're back over to this one. It doesn't really have a draft board, but it has a way to show the format in a different way. I like this, the way it's set up, but it's going to be, I'll have to take a couple of use a snippet tool and take multiple pictures, and I'll add it onto this video so you can see the draft board. I'll piece it together, but I'll probably need about 4 pictures. I'll do every 5 rounds and then take one big picture and do it. So but right now, I mean, the same players that normally go off, Lamb in this one, McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Bijan Robinson, Hall, and St. Brown. This is a PPR format. There's going to be probably 3. You can see right above with these teams up here, like 139. This guy's done 139 teams. This guy's 129. You can do 150, but these guys are going to really, really shove on the wide receivers and try to get the advantage in the position. So you have to be careful. And you could see probably, if I wanted to say Gibbs in this one or a running back, he goes in, his ADP is 15. So where I'm at 10, he might fall to me in the next round. And basically, I would think that, Garrett Wilson and, AJ Brown were wide receivers of interest. So I'm going to take Wilson. I've got a kind of a fetish for Aaron Rodgers as my second quarterback. So I like this. So I'll take him. It'll bounce back. And like I said, you want to get, it doesn't matter at the end of the year that this one is total points. You're climbing the mountain. You want to get the best team possible. Obviously you got to make, a lot of decisions, and you need to stay healthy. It's 20 rounds. And it'd be interesting like that. This draft's moving about the same. Gibbs went in the first round, AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson. Nothing really changed. I think they actually, technically, the median franchise. Oh, that's sometimes when you get in these drafts, you recognize names. But there's I know the team 4. I don't know who he's going to draft, but he's at the total top line. So looks like the franchise and Dave Hubbard have merged again. They broke up for a couple of years for whatever reason, but I don't know if they broke up, but they kind of separated their ways. But it looks like they're doing a team. It comes back to me in this. Most likely I take around. I've taken I don't mind taking like Harrison or Cup here, but most likely I'm going to try to get a running back, because I try to be a little more balanced and overflow my my running backs into the flex position and the tight end, where a lot of these are trying to jam the 3 wide receivers with wide receivers and then kind of backfill it. So I can tell you right now what I'm going to try to do based on this. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor as a running back, and when it gets back to me in the next turn, depending on the draft flow, I'm going to either try to stack either the Kansas City Chiefs or the Houston Texans, two wide receivers. So I'm just going to take Taylor based on I could take, Barkley's probably a better play than Taylor because of the offense. I'm going to take Barkley on this one. Sorry to change it up on you. A lot of times if there's a receiver at the back end, they have the same bye week, like Brown. Gibbs has the same as Barkley. Brown has 5. So this draft's moving a little slower. So we got Kelsey in the first round, Jonathan Taylor, McBride, and we can go over here and so McBride went a lot later in the other draft, so pushed up. But nothing really changes. And people look at the tight ends like Laporta or McBride. If they could get 100 catches, that's 150 points. If they could score 10 touchdowns, I think Laporta did last year, that's another 60. That's 210, and he gets over 1,000 yards. That's a 300-point player. That's pretty much an advantage. Laporta has the little bit of injury coming into the regular season, but he should be okay. They've rested him pretty good, but you never know when these guys have injuries. It's hard enough winning when the players are healthy, but if they're a little nicked up or hurt, you kind of have a disadvantage. But so Laporta. So this one is, I think the clock is this one's a minute. So it's twice as long. I think people will, in general, take a little more time. Where this one, these people have done a lot of drafts. They kind of know who they're looking for, and they're gonna just kind of bang on them. 4 teams double up at wide receiver here. And like I said, I expect 3, maybe 4 teams really to shove on the wide receivers. So really, this kind of almost resembles the FFWC, where they just wide receivers go early. But you still need running backs to win this game. And throwing darts at backup running backs late, where it's a total points league, is kind of different. But I don't know who won it last year. I think that might have been the second year or the year before. I know that the overall prize is a lot more than last year. So I don't have any of this. Is only the third team, and I'm going to take care of my friend Chris Lewis. We're kind of partners on this. Got a little tip helping him with a job. Figured he'll need a little bit of excitement, so he said do a good job. But I am at the mercy of the player pool here. So that's a fifth team that doubled up at wide receiver, came back with Williams. But the draft flow is really no different. The queue in this one is slightly different. I think in the mid range of wide receivers and maybe some of the running backs, but they're following almost the same. This is running closer to underdog than DraftKings. DraftKings, the running backs get pushed up a little bit earlier, where I actually think the running back should be earlier underdog because it's half point PPR. But so we got a triple wide receiver here. Hill, Collins, Devontae Smith, pretty good combination there. All right, so this will probably make it back to me at the best ball format before. So ultimately, I don't want to. It feels helpful when I got a good tight end in this, because it gives me a wider range to take the second tight end. I think Ferguson's kind of the drop off for me, and he might be like the 7th, 8th round of that. Let me see. Ferguson's he goes in ADP 81, so he's probably not going to make it back. And they do a good job here. They got the numbers, so he's not going to make it to the end of the 8th round. So here we are. So now I talked about the wide receiver. So Diggs already went, so I'm not going to take him. So I'm going to try to I'm going to take Travis Kelce, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take Rice already went. Sorry, talking multitasking. So I'll probably come back with Dell, or I will take Mahomes, which is kind of just getting one quarterback out of the way. But I'm kind of putting myself behind in this event. So let's see, Kelce, I think Dell, Kelce, the quarterback. So I'm going to go Mahomes and stack it. And now I have to really be conscious of getting good wide receivers. They last pretty good to the 5-6 turn. The 7-8 in that format gets kind of sketchy here. So here we are. So I'm up next after this. So I know that I'm looking at, the top running backs, all of those. ETN I'm okay with. Wide receiver, I'm more in the Adams camp than most people are. He's nicked up in the preseason. He still, he has a long resume of 100 catches. Collins had a good year last year, a little more split. But if Adams makes it, I'm going to take him for sure. Did they leave me at one of the top tight ends? Andrews is okay. Look nicked up. He's a little early for me. Ingram, I don't see him repeating. Just 100 catches is a lot coming off a career year. So that's going to push me back to. So now it's back to me here. I'm going to take Adams, and I'm going to put him in the queue because I'm talking here and let this run off a little bit. So, Henry, Williams, Achane are excellent. All good options. Henry has bye week 14. Williams, they always snap up the handcuff there. It kind of bothers me. But I think I'm gonna stick to my guns and take ETN because I just like his his progression. I think he's going to get a few more catches. So I'm going to take, and this is going to be definitely different than most. All right. So the next turn, I'll be shifting back to what wide receivers slide to me. And if they leave me a tight end, I'm not going to pass because I don't really want to chase behind Ferguson or something like that. But if they leave me, a good running back or a good wide receiver, I'm going to be open to either one of those decisions. So now, so we're going to go back to the wide receivers here, and there's a lot of the young wide receivers are pushed up in all these best ball events, and so I'm not really willing to chase that, and I'm looking to avoid some players that are kind of nicked up. So we got 4 wide receivers for the big T44 team. We got 4 wide receivers in a row for the team 3, and 4 wide receivers with McCaffrey. And this is probably a good stack. So there you go. There's the one team that's got the 5 wide receivers, and they're really trying to shove, and they try to backfill a different way. The problem is that some of these players, they don't always live up to expectations. And like Cooper, had a good year last year, but I sense that he has a little bit of injury risk. He sat out week 17 last year. So, if he got Dell, that would have been a great opportunity there, because I like the ceiling of him a little bit more. But they just, they're going to run off the wide receivers. So you got to be really creative and know the player pool. But, and back this one just, this one moves so much slower. I potentially could do 2 of these drafts at the same time. So coming up to me, they're leaving me running backs. So I have this weakness when they leave White, because I think he's a big pass catcher. And like the difference between Cook and White is big for me, because Cook is a talented player in transition on offense there with a wide receiver. But, the quarterback catches a lot of balls there. So, we'll run in a lot of touchdowns. So I'm gonna take White just because I think he's the advantage there, and I should take a wide receiver, but I'm not. But so I'm close enough on the term where I'm gonna get another wide receiver, but I'm really behind in that position. But I have, obviously some strength at tight end and quarterback, and I'm in the camp that Mahomes is a lot better this year. I like the structure of his offense. I'm going to take Ridley, just to drop off at wide receiver. The Odunze is the 3rd wide receiver. Chris Godwin's okay. Keenan Allen should make sense. I like Reed. DeAndre Johnson, not really in his camp. Ryan Thomas is kind of the hot guy moving up. He'll never make it back to me. So I'm going to kind of when I get a lot of these times, the ideal way to do this is not take where I took Mahomes, because when I get to the Shakir, say that Shakir area, I know my screen's probably blocking it out there, but Coleman, McConkey, Sutton, Hopkins, Hollywood Brown probably has some upside. He's going to miss a game. I'd much rather take a quarterback in that range when those are there, because I think, I want to get one good quarterback in this format to be my foundation quarterback. I'm gonna go after a second quarterback, and then I've settled in, and I'm gonna shove in on Rodgers. I'm not gonna Aaron Rodgers. I'm against the grain there, but not many people are. I just think he's a guy has good 2 first-round draft picks that catch the ball. Wilson and Hall. I like Mike Williams on the bounce back. He has a decent tight end and some complementary players at wide receiver. But where he gets drafted, anybody below him, is potentially to be a weak player, or some of them have a chance to lose a job. So I can wait long enough. His ADP in this format's 158. The other ones are in the 150s usually, but I'm willing to take him in the 130s, early 140s. Sometimes I let him go and he still makes it to me in the 150s, but that's just the way I'm playing the game. And look at Team 6, Brian Thomas, he's just shoving in. So at this point now he's got 6 wide receivers. 4 of those are going to be in his lineup here every week, and 2 are going to get kicked out. So hopefully he feels though he has, the advantage in 4 positions. Now his challenge is he can get enough quarterbacks for sure to get some points, but at the same time, he's most likely going to have one tight end, and that might not be an impactful one. And his running back position, he kind of has to hit on some guys. He's going to get some players that have chances and starting jobs, but most likely, they're split roles and time and will he, to get enough depth at running back, he might have to go 4 in a row, but that puts him behind at quarterback and tight end. So in this FFPC draft, the running backs, like I said, they go a little earlier in this because of the format. So pretty much we got like 7 wide receivers to go at the end of the second round, and then this round we got 5 wide receivers in the next 8 picks. So coming back to me over here, bring it down a little bit. We're switching. So, like I said, this is where you have to know the player pool and be creative with what you want to do. So the team that with the 6 wide receivers took Montgomery. If Gibbs is ever out for the season, he could have an RB1 that's probably a top 10, top 8 running back. Needs to stay healthy. The team with Brian Robinson, A-Chain, he just went 5 in a row. He's got some upside players, and it broke pretty well for him there. I kind of sometimes I get in this position. I've done this before. Is Ferguson is a drop off at tight end, and I think that if I'm strength at running back and at tight end, I can shove that over. So now if I have 2 good receivers, which I don't have great, I have 1 good receiver, but they're never going to fill the box every time. So next guy has 2 tight ends. The one after that has none. Most likely he'll take Ferguson. The wide receivers, I'm not taking Sutton. Hollywood Brown's okay for me because I have Kansas City. So I'm going to probably gamble here, and I'm going to take Ferguson to be against the grain because of the total points league. And I have Kelsey, and you think you don't want him, but Ferguson caught 70 balls last year. These wide receivers that are available, they're not going to catch 70. So in essence, I could potentially have a 70 catch wide receiver with some upside in scoring. And I don't see, any of those players, having that floor. And, but I do need the multiples to fill right. So kind of a different way to look at it. And like I said, and everybody else over in the front end that's picking all these wide receivers, they've been playing the game, and this is how they've been told to play it, and they think's the best. And, they could be right. But, I'm kind of, like I said, going to the ground. They took Hollywood Brown, so that's a kind of a miss for me. I was hoping that he would make it back. I'm not going to take any running backs rate the way they are. So I'm forced to take a wide receiver. So Jameson Williams, I don't have him a lot of teams. I do like the offense. He does get a bump in value after they moved on for one of their other wide receivers. I'm forced to take him because of best available athlete type of person here. So next turn, I'm most likely going to come back with a running back and a wide receiver. And we'll see how that breaks. But I am definitely in the team building, have a different structure than probably most would do here. And we're over here. So Patrick Mahomes slides to the 4th round. The guy took Kelsey and Mahomes. I saw that other draft. I think that other draft, that was a Kelsey Mahomes from Team 11. So similar style there. That was a Taylor Pacheco, and that one was 2 receivers. There was a triple stack of the Kansas City guys there, which is not as important in this format, but I mean, so this is just like I said, it's a little different format. Right now at running back, if White makes it back, I'm interested. Sorry, I'll put him in the queue. Wide receiver, the wide receivers in this are definitely better than they should be. I mean, look at you got Evans, Pittman, Ayuk, Diggs, Higgins, a little step down. Dell, who's really kind of looks like he's mispriced here. But, if I'm going to have to take a player like that, but he has the bye week 14. Pittman has 14, and a lot of these receivers is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 receivers right there that have bye week 14. So a lot of these people have that same theory, that I was talking about, avoiding, bye week 14. I'm at 7, 10, and 12. So that's, definitely a different way to play it. Let's see here. I am going to queue up, let's see, running back. We're at, I said Javonte Williams went. So the running backs, on the tight turns here, I could take 2 running backs, and I'm going to have to wait until the next turn. So the next 2 picks, I'm definitely going to shove at wide receiver. So I'm going to have to come back. I'm going to take Myers for sure, and then I'll keep the other one open. I could potentially take Addison. I don't like what's going on with Addison just went, I believe. Yeah, so that helps me out. Well, I don't know if it helps me out, but so Kyle Pitts over here. So we got a couple more minutes here. I'm going to pick from this one faster because it's the clock's high. So I'll take Myers for sure. And then, see, like I said, at the back end of this draft, I told him one of these, some of these best balls, you can double down at running back, and that way you have a third backfield, and you're hoping that Barkley and White are filling your running back spots a lot, and then if you get another two running backs, they kind of overflow into the flex, but they give you the third option there. So I'm going to take Myers because just like the way he played last year, and in this thing. So now I have four. I don't have definitely trailing behind, but by weeks 10, 5, I have two wide receivers on by week 5. Let's see here. We're still 3 more here. So this one probably break out pretty good here. So the question is, do I want to take a running back? Robinson, quarterback runs. Spears is a split. Dowell, no. Karam. So none of those running backs really stand out. So now I'm going to shift back to wide receiver. Cooks is a little banged up. I'm not taking Shaheed or Curtis is banged up. Probably going to go. I'm going to just take Mike Williams because I've taken him, and I know it's early, but I'm going to take a running back in the next round. My plan is to definitely take Aaron Rodgers. So on that next turn, I'll take a running back. So I have 5 wide receivers now. I double stack the Jets, which is fine because I like their offense, and we'll see there. So we can focus on this for a minute, and we'll say so. White got picked off on that one, which is fine. So that leaves me at a position where, do I want to take a running back or take another wide receiver? The wide receiver pool, if Diggs makes it, it feels like he's still a good player. So they're kind of picking up the wide receiver. So right now, I would say that I'm definitely interested in Ferguson on the turn. I am behind what I at the running back position. I mean, Kamara's a pass catcher. Cook, I already said in the other video. But so I think I need to take, if Diggs makes it or Dell, I think I got to take one of the Texans. I mean, Flowers is going to get it. He could get a lot of catches. McLaurin, is with a like a running quarterback. I'm going to avoid Mari Cooper. I'd rather have the. So in this case, I'm going to take Ferguson. It doesn't matter which order, and I'm going to come back. And I mean, it's hard for me to take Dell over Diggs, even though I think I should do that. That's why if you're picking at the back end, but Diggs is 100 catches in a lot of seasons. I got to take Diggs and just take what they give me, and hopefully, get something out of that. So Diggs it is, but I think Dell in this, based on what I'm seeing in this, is a good format. I'm all right with Diggs having a bye week 14. I already have 2 other wide receivers, and hopefully I can do okay on the rest of the roster. And so, all right, so now we're at this one. All right, so now I'm at 5 wide receivers, 2 running backs. So now I feel like I'm behind a little bit at running back. And I started to say that sometimes you can get double down on the turn here. And if I wanted to gamble, what I've done sometimes is taken, is Chubb gone yet? Because I'm not really watching it. Sometimes you can get Chubb with Ford together, and you feel like you get a guy to get you out of the gate, get you some points, and then Chubb might be the closer. But like I said, like earlier, I want to have somebody that's going to play and get points, but I'm at the mercy of how I drafted this. I'm already behind in some positions. I'm good at tight end. Quarterback's okay for now until see what I get for the second one. We had somebody just double with Daniels and Lawrence. So Mike Williams. So I have shift over the quarterback because I always want to. Sometimes you want to just pay attention to see how they're going. So you have to wait for the next one. So at 154, the running back inventory is going to be extremely weak, and so I am in a position where I am definitely trailing, and I am forced. I mean, I like Benson a lot. Prefer him as a fourth running back in these type of formats, but I'm going to take him because the rest looks messy. So I guess Chubb's a little later in this one. I mean, I don't want to take somebody later, but where is Ford in this one? Sorry, I thought Ford already. Oh, Ford went to team 12. So if I wanted to gamble on the quarterback, my next pick is 154, and Rodgers' ADP is 158. Would he make it back? That's and not many people fight for him, and I'm like kind of on an island there. But you have a team at team 12 that's got 3 quarterbacks. I'm taking an injury guy that's going to miss 4, possibly 5 weeks, get a half a season, not really help me. So I'm, as much as I think I would like to have Chubb, and if it was a different format, like the other event, underdog, where week 17 is important, I'd probably be all right with that. So ideally, I think earlier in this draft, if I made a trade-off to get one other running back, what would I do? And that's something I have to reflect on. But I'm going to take Rodgers early because I'm just leaning on, stacking the Jets. I like them, and I got Kansas City. Really not as important, like I said, stacking the team as the other event, but it's just the way I've been playing it. So I got 2 good running backs, kind of weak there. So now I have to really pay attention to what running back falls to me in the next round. The next wide receiver that I like is Tolbert. But in this format, I think he's going to go before he makes it back to me, just because these guys shove so much. But, like I said, it's just interesting how it goes. So now we're going to come back here. Now I'm at the mercy of so there's some decent wide receivers. There's no way that these guys back here are going to let Dell. So it's quarterbacks tend to in the FFPC, they tend to slide, and so you can even though Mahomes 4th round should be a deal, Josh Allen 5th round, Hurts 5th round, a deal. You can still get a really, really good quarterback sometimes in the 12th round by cheating the position. What it does is give you extra depth at other positions to cover bye weeks and injuries. But from the front end, ETN and 1 tight end, I'm really kind of trailing here, but I'm kind of falling into the range where some of these guys punt the RB2 position with the idea of filling that later on the season to have a stronger team. I don't have, I have 3 good receivers that all have 100 catch seasons on there, and I got a tight end that caught 70. So I feel like that I'm competitive, but it's just how what wide receivers make it to me, and probably I would say like a Keenan Allen or something. Like, let me see here, like no, Allen went on something. They really kind of pushing him back. Oh no, Allen's way back here. I took him in the other draft. Didn't feel great about it. A little nicked up. I might take Jaden Reed over him just because of that. But Tank Dell at the end of is just kind of, I can't imagine him getting past the Hubbard Nelson team, especially where they go 3 running backs. So I would think one of the next 2, the team with team 12 with no wide receivers, there's Dell's going in the next 3 picks, I think. All right, so back over here. So I got to pay attention to running back. Tolbert's of interest. If Chubb made it back to me, that would be kind of a break for me, because now I can take the risk, but I don't expect that to happen. But that's the kind of stuff you need when you're playing in these some of these kind of events. You need a player like that, and that's just the out tag, and how many games, how many going to miss, especially in this format. They're willing to bypass it. But same thing with Hawkinson. He's out a while, so but somebody like that took a lot of wide receivers should take him, but we'll see. Let's see what happens. So Tank Dell went to team 10. AJ Brown, Neighbors, Waddle, Dell, really good receivers. Went for the tight end, so he's punting running back. Same structure for the next team. Let's see what he's got going on. Let's see. So we got Pickens, good wide receiver. Godwin, good wide receiver. Ridley. These are receivers that in other formats that they're not as good. They kind of run out earlier. So let's see. So quarterback in this one. I mean, I don't want to take. Um, but like I said, it's I've already said in the other thing that I'm okay with Rodgers. So I can live with him covering me in you know, week 13, and I could look up a schedule right now, but it doesn't really matter. But I do get a hookup in the playoffs if Stroud does make it back to me. If two receivers don't, but I don't have a running back, so I mean I have to be a concern there. So, oops, it's on my. Oh, I got Tolbert on that one. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention, but I got the player I wanted. So I don't know if I got auto debt or what. Maybe I had him queued, but if Chubb made it to me, I would much rather have had him. So we'll see if he he makes it on the turn. That is what a gaff there. This is the problem here. I think the software is that it didn't make me aware. It makes the noise, and I got to be watching it. And maybe if you have your phone open or something, you're getting the notifications. Um, but uh, but I did want Tolbert for sure. I think he makes a lot of sense with Cook a little banged up. He looked pretty good a couple years ago. I'm willing to get him in the 150s, but with Chubb's, this guy doesn't take that. So he did. So to me, I got a significant break because I was talking about Chubb and he made it back to me. So, but that's the type of stuff that you need to happen. And like I don't have that extra running back. I'm going to take 6 running backs and in this format, um, and take 8 wide receivers. So right now I've kind of caught up. I got 6 wide receivers. I try to gravitate at the wide receiver position to the area with Mims, because I think one of the Denver wide receivers is going to pay off, and people haven't really kind of caught on. Rookie quarterback, but I think as the season moves on, Mims is kind of a big play receiver, and I do think Franklin's kind of undervalued here. But the tight end position, I'm okay matching up with Conklin if he made it, but let's see. Likely he's a good choice, and then Conklin is the guy, and he already went in this one. But there's where I have two top tight ends, I don't need to do that. This is where I kind of have some trade offs. I'm a little ahead at some positions and catching a break. In the running back position, is really if Irving made it back, I could handcuff him, but he tends to go in the 160s, so I don't expect him to go back. So now, like P. Ryan, a guy that's moving up. I wouldn't mind a piece of the Kansas City offense on the ground if he made it back. So I'll put him in the Q2. Let's see what happens this draft board. So, we're going back here. So Pickens went next. That was a nice 4 receivers. They came with James Conner. They're going to probably They're going to probably try to hook him up with Benson. I would imagine they would probably like to get him on that 9-10 turn. I'm not 100% sure. I'll look at this other draft board to see where Benson goes. I would probably like to snatch him from him if possible. Let's see, Benson. Benson went in the 11th round, but I'm not going to let him, depending on where I'm at. And look at Stroud over here, went in the 9th round. So I was talking about Stroud, and he went late. So this gives me a signal. I mean, I definitely have to go in another direction there. So let's fix this queue. I'm going to put P. Ryan ahead of Mims just in case this thing doesn't pay attention. I'm talking too much. So Xavier Worthy. Let's see. So we're not going to take a quarterback in this one. Running back, Aaron Jones, Swift. I'm gonna go on a limb and take not a limb. I'm going to take Williams. When P. Ryan left, I think that gives Williams a lot of better chances to get catches. I'm not sure he's been adjusted properly in some of the rankings. I did 300 best ball events. I probably have Williams on 2, and I didn't take him until after the P. Ryan trade. So that's the first choice, and then I'm going to come back with a wide receiver. Godwin would be kind of a break for me. Reed would be fine. Keenan Allen, I took him in the other one. I'm not going to double down there. And the other, I think a running back makes it back to me. In the tight end position, I know these tight ends are not really somebody that I'm kind of going after. So Aaron Jones. So we'll see how the next 2 there go. I got to pay attention to this other thing because it moves quick. And this is the first time I'm doing it and not having the sound there, so at least alerts me to go back. Maybe it does make that noise when it beeps, and I wasn't paying attention. It beeps on all of them, or it just beeps on Sorry, there it goes. It does make a sound, but so P Ryan works out good for me. Get a piece of the offense, take him, come back, and then we're gonna come back over here. We'll see how the Lombardi times a really top player, does really well. Let's see here. So let's see. And this is, like I said, this Williams, being a two-way split here, a lot better opportunity there. So I take him. I could go take a running back. I don't like I think the wide receivers are probably a little more important. Some of those running, like if I take Swift, I feel like I got to handcuff him. Jaden Reed scored 8 touchdowns in the Green Bay offense. Think he's solid. Johnson doesn't score enough touchdowns. Oops, let me just make so draft him. Let's go back here. So I'm going to take Reed here, and then so I feel like I made out pretty good at the wide receiver position. I got 2 running backs. I need some depth there. I didn't go after the quarterback. They're kind of waiting on it based on seeing that other draft board. So we'll see what happens, And this other one only has 4 more rounds. So this is so when I get to this area, and typically in the best balls, and I'm looking for a third tight end, and I'm looking for a third tight end, and I'm looking for a third quarterback. So the quarterback sometimes in the other ones I was looking for hookup. I think based on potential big game ability and like running, I think I'm going to gravitate towards Carr in this type of format. I do. We'll mix up the other, like I'll have Nix with his receivers, and then I'll have Carr with one of his receivers, and it gets I don't want any of the Russell Wilson and stuff. So they might technically, some of these teams want to have 2 quarterbacks and some want to have 3, but at 202. I could be at the mercy of not getting one, and do I have to decide, to punt it or see what happens? But yeah, so I'm going to put in Jones in the queue as whatever. I know with the tight end that I most likely gravitate to Gesicki as the last tight end, and his ADP in this format's 220. I just think that in Cincinnati is a good spot for him. They use the tight end a lot more. Gesicki's more of a pass catcher. Didn't really work out in Miami. They wanted kind of a blocker. Same thing in New England. Didn't have good quarterback play, but with a better quarterback that uses the tight end, he might be a pretty good fit, and maybe have those couple games where he scores some touchdowns and can kind of mix it up a little bit. So so back to this one: Jaden Reed, DeAndre Johnson, Christian Watson, Stevenson. And I'll be able to talk about this a little bit more once this other thing gets done. And I won't do another one at the same time here because it's not like I'm not paying attention. And I did screw the pooch on that one draft turn, but I was fortunate that Chubb made it back, and I did get Tolbert, who I've been kind of shoving in lately. But so let's see. So Gesicki. So Daniel Jones went. So the other quarterback. So now I'm at the mercy. If I got to go to the next quarterback, I'm most likely going to take Carr. Don't love him, but he does have a decent receiver with Olave, and I have taken A.T. Perry a lot in this. Guy with size, kind of undervalued. So if he doesn't make it back, Minshew is kind of a guy that could lose his job mid-season. So I think I got to take Carr based on that. I'm going to get a quarterback. He has the same bye week as Rodgers, but it's all right. I'm just looking for, just another option to fill that spot and maybe catch a game once in a while to chip in, and then you can cover an injury. Most likely, Mahomes won't miss a game, and I'm hoping Rodgers stays healthy. So at this point, the tight end is probably at a point where I'm not willing to push it further. Gesicki is he's a drop off. If I have Levis, I'm willing to take Okonkwo, but like I said, Gesicki is there, and now that leaves me with 3 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks, 7 receivers, and a running back. So the last running back, let's see. I've been gambling, and Shipley's an interesting guy. In this format, I probably should take Shipley because I have Barkley. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take him in that one. At least I get some coverage, and maybe, once in a while Philly puts another running back. So I'm going to take him as next if he makes it back. If he doesn't, I'm going to gravitate towards Deuce Vaughn, because he's a player that I'm kind of on an island with, especially with Dallas adding Cook, but player of interest. And then wide receivers, depend on my quarterback. Like if I had, I've taken Franklin a lot, but I do like A.T. Perry. I did took Carr, and he's another guy. The Shaheed guy's been a little nicked up, so I think Perry has a lot of size. He scored touchdowns at the end of last year. I think he's really getting overlooked in these type of formats, and maybe in this one he goes. So I'm going to go like that, and that's how I would finish it out. A lot of repetitive stuff for me. Not so much at the beginning of the first 100 or so in both formats, but at the end I kind of like got tunnel vision and shoved Rodgers and some of the players the same. And like I said, you need to stay healthy, see what happens. And this other one was, drafts 7 rounds, and this one went 20. But for $15, a chance to win $500,000. They have the lobby. I guess I can go there. I'll go after it. They need 186,000 in this in the next few days. It says it's probably going to be an overlay, but I'm sure it'll pick up a little bit. Maybe they don't make their numbers, but but I like the total points thing. The playoff format and some of the other ones are a little different. So let's see, nothing, so Richardson went, still the quarterbacks aren't going, so yeah, I wonder if, so he's going to take a quarterback. Not a quarterback, another running back. All right, so this thing just, these 30-second drafts, when they've done a lot of them, they move a lot quicker. This one's, like I said, 20 rounds, and will be done by the time do 8 rounds. So Shipley went. So now I didn't get the handcuff. So I'm gonna take a player that could potentially give me nothing at running back. But when I look at the running back, Steele, people talk about him, but do I want a guy that I'm not sure of? Guerrero, a backup, Madison there. Dalvin Cook. He could potentially be the player, and maybe I should take him over Vaughn. Didn't do much last year. He's kind of the same player as Elliott, maybe a little better pass catcher. Maybe it was just an outlier year, and he might make sense. But I'm gonna be against the grain there, because I'm a really, really small back. Had caught 50 passes a couple times, and what am I gonna do? I could still win this league if I stay healthy without the 6th running back. But he could be a bonus if he does get a more active role. So let's see. So we'll take Perry, and then we'll just take Vaughn, unless the crowd in the background wants me to take Cook. But that'll be an interesting, because if you can look back and say, if I would have taken Cook over Vaughn, would I have had a chance to win something? And we'll see. If Cook was so good and that attractive, why did he hold out that long? Maybe he was just waiting for somebody to get injury, a better opportunity. So. But I liked Vaughn last year, drafted him some. I'm going to stick my neck out and take him again. And like I said, I'll be on my last 2 picks with Perry and Vaughn and be on an island. So we're done with that. That's the team. I'll leave that up there and try to take a picture of that, and I'll post it on the draft too. So, but like I said, I'll do one more of those. I'm not going to do it right now because I need to focus on this. It is at a slower pace, and I have done a lot of drafts, so it's not as important. So now this is pretty interesting. Wide receivers kind of make it. I don't have a quarterback. They took Stroud, so I'm okay with that. But this is where I can be on that term where at 1, where I can, Hollywood Brown would be a wide receiver for sure that I'd be interested in, because I think he's going to be good in that offense. So, but at running back, if it makes it to me, I could take, Harris and Warren. I could take, Brown and Moss, and just get that 3rd running back situation out of the way. There's, you could take Spears and Pollard sometimes. So Brian Robinson, the Brian Robinson Eckler thing doesn't really pair up well for me. I think Eckler, the pass catching is interesting. Ford with Chubb's all right. I think that you're going to have to push him a little early. Quarterback, Joe Burrow makes it. like any of these quarterbacks are okay. Like if Burrow made it to me, that would be fine. But am I, because I'm trailing at the running back position, is it more important to get that rotational player of one other backfield? And then in Javonte Williams, most likely I have to get his handcuff, which is a smaller, quick guy, or do I just go for the other player they drafted this year because he would be more of an early down runner, but he won't catch a lot of balls. I know last year Denver led the league in receptions for running back, so that's why I drafted Williams a lot last year, but it would just split up between three players. This year, hopefully it's two, and I think the third back doesn't catch a lot. So that thing. So Najee Harris went. So Warren would be in play if he made it still, because he is a pass catcher. He does have rotational value. I don't think he'll make it past say like team number two. That's kind of a break for somebody with 5 wide receivers, 1 running back. You're going to get a pass catcher. He is a little banged up. But we will see what happens there. So Chase Brown, Warren, those are the 2 upside players. Brooks, you got to sit on him. I'm more confident in Chubb than Brooks. Chubb's, it seems like he's working hard. He has, a history there. I know he's coming off a major injury too. Probably worse than Brooks, and he's a little older, but, I don't know what Carolina's offense, where I know Cleveland's going to be a little bit better. So this is the challenge, in the next 4 picks, what I need to decide. The tight ends, it's in a range where they're similar, and based on how they didn't run them off as so much, I think somebody will make it to me the next turn. So I really do think I should. I take 2. I don't think there's any way Benson makes it to me, but on the next turn, 11. But if he did, I would consider it. So 2 backs, Hollywood Brown, if he makes it, get that extra wide receiver, really discounted for his potential. I think that if this team doesn't take Brown, he would most likely make it to me. I think that if he made it and Warren made it, I think I would just go with that, because I'm getting a pass catcher that I could fill in and help the bye weeks. And I'm going to punt the quarterback position, even though Burrow's there. Where did Burrow go in this other one? So he went at the end of the 10th. So he's not going to make it back based on that same draft flow. So this is where I think Warren would go on this team because of the structure, but he might like a different running back, maybe not be so focused on a pass catcher. And I would imagine that team 2 kind of knows that he has to stick his neck out and take a tight end. And, even though I have one, this format, I potentially could take another one. So, but yeah, so team 9, went with running back, tight end, running back, Gibbs and Jacobs, pretty good match, Kincaid, and then banged out 4 receivers, DJ Moore, McLaurin. So he went with Chase Brown as the running back, so he chose him. So I can't double with the Moss Chase Brown, which I was leaning not to do that. So, and then so he took Ridley, Brian Thomas, and Dunze, 2 upside guys. So he has a really kind of an interesting upside team at wide receiver. Those 2 front backs are pretty good. All right, so this broke out pretty good for me. I'm going to just take Warren. I like that, and I think. And I'm okay with Hollywood Brown missing some time. I'm just getting a piece of Kansas City's offense, and I think that's kind of a break as well. And then so now read the position. I want to get 1 quarterback, and I'm probably going to try to get Rodgers later. He goes really, really late in these formats. Like he doesn't even get drafted. Like he's in the 6th, 16th round. I probably won't go that far because I like some other players better, but so. I like my 5 receivers. It's obviously, Diggs and, the 3-way split's kind of interesting. I do, like I said, do need to handicap Williams. Got a decent, a front, the drop off at tight end for me. Now this guy's taking Jordan Mason and he's handcuffing his back, and I know you want to, but that's early for a guy that's. Even if Mason got the job temporarily, he might not be good enough to keep it for the whole season. This guy might be wise to take Moss, but most likely in a lot of these drafts, I don't see these guys handcuffing these backs like that. Like this guy, McCaffrey, this is a veteran player. He's a good player, and so he's just as secure in his asset. You might even handcuff Cook later on. and he's got the interesting. He's got the Cook and Allen hookup, and I think sometimes people dismiss that stuff because a running back quarterback connection is kind of interesting. Oh, comes back with Brooks going for the upside, late season, second half player. So Chase Brown upside, Brooks has upside. He's got the foundation at wide receiver. Bijan Robinson, that's a pretty good break for him. It almost looks like it's like a Chad Schroeder team, but I don't know. He could be under a different name, and he does mix it up. So let's see, Kyler Murray. So Keenan. No, all right. So team 11, do they handcuff Connor? And that's the second team. I did that other draft the other night, and James Conner was also the Kyler Murray team, and that guy's got McBride too. And if he takes, wow, that's a lot of players on the same team. So you telling me that Arizona is going to, but Arizona they play the Rams, I think, in week 17, but you still have to get there. Hawkinson, lead tight end, going to miss some time. He's going to be out a month at least. Going to be a little, slow out of the gate in probably in October as well. Let's see. All right, let's go to the queue here because I can probably talk a little bit better at that. So Singletary just steady. Ford with the Chubb thing, and that's a good pairing there. Spears has upside. Eckler's kind of a guy that you can just get some catches with. Kind of like if you get a fill in, but they're not going to throw as much as in Washington. Singletary, has the the lead role there. He's going to be a split. He did pretty good at the end of the year. He just got drafted last year for Houston, but people don't really trust him. The two wide receivers for Buffalo are there, James Williams. That's what I'm saying. Like now we're at this point where these wide receivers are a lot better than usual. And realistically, I've been taking Williams, and look how late that guy goes. So. So Josh Palmer, Addison, yeah. So this compared to that other fast draft, they just shove them off. But yeah, so the other tight end is likely he's a pretty good player to have in this because if format in the tight end format, because if Andrews had an injury, that you could kind of maybe have a top tier tight end. The reports have been pretty good. After that, you kind of at the mercy. Schultz is fine. I already have one player from Houston, but it's okay. Conklin, sometimes I got Rodgers, I'll take him. But these players are not going to make it to where I think I can probably fit them in, unless I'm just going to fade the quarterback position. I wouldn't mind having as the first quarterback Lawrence. So he went in 11th, so he might make it back to me. So then I just have to decide. So when I'm looking at this other draft board, so 11th round, Mike Williams went at the back end, who's a player of interest. So, that just shows he might not make it back to 12. His stock's gone up a little bit because he might play in week 1, and most people are kind of dismissing him earlier. I mistimed him in the other draft that I did. I took Brandon Cooks over him before he was a little nicked up, and but I liked Williams a little bit better just because I just like the pairing with Rodgers there. Let's see here. Tight ends, quarterback. So Burrow's still there. That's Dak still there. If Dak made it back to me, I probably should. If I take Dak when he's with Lamb, that's a kind of a steal. And Dak's a really good play at home. So that like you can play him for 8 games, but you're going to get 6 of them could be really, really, really good games. So we will see here. So behind me, there's only 2 teams that don't have quarterbacks. So Burrow would be one, and the other one would be, there's 3 teams. So this team. So if 2 of these teams, so this guy took Benson, so he took Benson away from, team 11, which I'm not sure that he wanted to handcuff him, but yeah, Benson. So Williams, Spears, Love's pretty late too. This is just, when you look at the quarterback inventory, it looks pretty good all around. Actually, you know what? I think the Jaden Daniels and Burrow would go. Prescott might go after that. And some people are in their camp. But nobody in like at a home league, you could be panicking. I don't think in this format, there are so many quarterbacks that playing defense and doubling up really doesn't help you because you're giving up some depth. There is times when you get to about the 12th round where the player pool kind of drops off at some other positions, and you might like some players later where you can get away with that. It's okay sometimes even to have 3 quarterbacks on a team. In 20 team league, short roster format you can, but it just last year I had a lot of teams that ended up having like Cousins get hurt and Burrow get hurt or somebody else get hurt. I had a lot of quarterback injuries, and that was kind of the downfall. So they came back with Wright over for the Hubbard franchise team. So did he? No, he didn't have any chance at handcuffing any of his running backs. So, but the same thing. Chubb's still there. That's kind of a closer. So he's an interesting player. I don't need any wide receivers, even though I'm interested in Mike Williams. So most likely I'm going to have to let him go. And if he made it back to me, he made it back to me. I have so many shares of him. I just end up having 5 good receivers. I'm behind at running back. Need one more. I potentially could take a backup tight end, but I'd rather have the running back. And then the other thing would be, if they're going to give me the quarterback for Prescott, I would probably have to take him. So this guy took Jaden Daniels. So we have 2 teams that potentially would take Burrow, and with the other team, I would think if they're looking at the draft board, either 3 or was it 6? They're like, well, should we let the CD Lamb get Prescott? Now that isn't a great matchup in Week 17. They play Philadelphia, so in the scheme of things, but like I said, if I end up with Lawrence, I'd be okay with that. I would probably take Lawrence even over Caleb Williams. I have him rated higher. He runs a little bit. He has decent weapons. I know that Chicago looks pretty good on paper, but he still has to prove himself, and he is a rookie quarterback. So this is where, a lot. Purdy's a good option too. Where did Purdy go in the other one? Because they didn't really like him in this one. Let's see, Purdy, he went in the 11th round. So we had in this one we had 10th. We had a guy double, and we had somebody 11th double, and that. So two teams gave up something to double at quarterback. So Joe Burrow went. So now, can we make it by team 3? That's the question. We'll see what happens there. Am I up in this draft? I'm doing. I have like one more draft for the underdog thing, and I'm up in 2 drafts, but I am. Oh no, I'm not. I'm one pick away on one and 7 on the other, and I will have completed 150 drafts at underdog. So we got couple run of the secondary tight ends. The Hawkinson guy probably had to go there, get coverage. Conklin, and now let's see what team Smarty Pants does. So quarterbacks that are there: Caleb Williams, yeah, interesting. Oops, draft board. What is going to happen? This could be an interesting draft. Bijan Robinson, 7. Got a lot of guys on bye week. So I am my friend Eddie Gillis, who's a big Dallas fan, that took him in the 7th round, is like, I got to do one of these drafts. If I could get Lamb and get Dak Prescott in the 10-11 turn, like that, I don't think there's any chance that team 2 doubles at quarterback here. He's kind of been around and looking for depth. He understands, the quarterback depth and stuff like that. So I am going to. So he handcuffed his other back. Now this actually broke pretty good, same as the other situation. So I can take Prescott. Prescott. Not Williams. So I can take Prescott and that running back. They left me Chubb, which I really need I need a 4th running back. I have a rotational guy. I should handcuff Williams. Etienne really, his handcuff goes really late. So, but Chubb gives me somebody mid-season might be able to do something and turn in kind of a difference maker, especially when you're trying to go for like an overall championship. So his ADP is 112. We're a lot later than that. So I'm gonna take Chubb here, and that's a pretty good break for me. So next turn, I can know right now. I'm gonna probably, if a tight end makes it back to me, I'll most likely take another tight end, and then if Williams from the Jets made it to me, I would do that. I could handcuff Javonte Williams with the pass catcher, not the other running back. I can potentially, what is the other thing I got to think here? Now I have ETN. I'm probably not going to handcuff him. I could, in those other formats, I wasn't doing stuff like that. But in this one, where it's 20 spots, and I'm not having as much depth, like I'm not going to have 3 quarterbacks and most likely 3 tight ends. So I have 2 extra spots. So I should handcuff my lead running back, but he goes really, really late. Nobody's even thinking about him. And even if somebody took him, if ETN started off pretty good, sometimes the handcuff running backs are the first to get dumped. But we got, Gus Edwards, really messy, and for the Chargers. Elliott now was kind of cloudy there. Let me just so I don't forget, the P Ryan guy for Kansas City is definitely a player of interest for me, as I mentioned in the other one, unless he already went. So he's there. So I don't know where he goes. So I'll just put him in the queue so I could save myself. The guy that has should handcuff Algier coming back here. But so we see, this is where, like, that's a mistake. I think. I mean, I get where you're going to come back with Chubb or Hubbard, right? And you're gonna try to get the Carolina thing, but you got to protect Bijan Robinson right there over, he's your stud running back, and that other player behind him is a pretty good player. And I think that's a mistake. We saw that in another draft earlier. So team 2, he backed up both his running backs, and he took an upside running back, and he's content with that position because he wants to play a wide receiver at the flex. He wants 2 running back positions, and he's going to take some, another flyer or 2, and he might be able to pick somebody on the waiver wire. But team 3, you're going to take a pass catching back in Denver that you potentially play, but your other guy, Algier, is better than McLaughlin. So, all right. So the Elliott goes, and that's really messy. So now does that team looking to get Cooks? Addison, that's a pretty good deal right there for the wide receiver. Like I said, this format, the wide receivers are a lot better at like 11th. I think Addison might go the 8th round in some of those other ones. Those tight ends really make a difference. So right now, after 10 rounds, we had 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 tight ends got drafted in the first 10 rounds. So, so 4 teams maybe have backups. And there's a double with Williams and Burrow, so that came back there. So Pitts, Njoku. Now that's another one. See that play so he took Spears. See if I had H-N, I would probably have taken Jalen Wright. Maybe he thought he would make it the next round. That's why it gets kind of, the timing of it. Is Spears better than the 3rd handcuff? I guess Spears has an upside there, so I mean you can't really complain about it. So it's team 7 with the St. Brown team, the running back Mixon, Montgomery, Mostert. So it's kind of, don't know if he's got the wide receivers, the front line going with the 2 Packer guys. If they have an injury, he has Love. He's got some back end hookups, rotate some guys. He's got a good tight end. He also has Andrews, and that's the person that most likely should handcuff with Likely. And there's a good chance that, like, that tight end at that point, Likely is probably more important than Wicks. I know Wicks gets a lot of attention, but that Baltimore tight end position is a really active role. And so if he lost Andrews, he's not going to feel comfortable playing the Philadelphia tight end. So here we go. We're getting the second tight end, Freiermuth upside. We got Jackson. Yeah, maybe even that guy could have come out with a change of wide receivers there, I might prefer to have Likely with that team too, because there's Lamar. But Chase, Debo, Evans, that's a pretty good structure. You like wide receivers score touchdowns. Got Barkley, just took the drop off at the tight end position in his mind. I mean, you could take Kittle. I would have taken Kittle over Freiermuth for sure. Just he might be a little more up and down, but that offense is a lot better. Freiermuth is going to get more catches, but coming off a down year, so I don't like that order. So there was Irving. So where was the White? So Rashee White. So he didn't handcuff him with Irving, which Ty Chandler, another. Yeah, so a lot of these running back structures, they end up in these like these type of formats. They don't get tied together well, and I know they're tough to time in the rhythm of it, but it's just the spacing, and you have to move up a player like to get it done. So that team, wow, Team 12 only has 3 receivers. Keenan Allen, Hopkins, and Palmer. So you can play 4 running backs, or in this case, he's going to play the 3 running backs and 2 tight ends. And he takes another running back. So if I'm taking the Dobbins, I'm not going to back him up with Edwards, and I think Edwards is probably there. Most likely, no, Edwards is already gone. Sorry. I would take the other the Vidal guy and handcuff him with him. So there you go. There's Mike Williams. So he got the player, but I had to let him go. I did a little bit better than expected. I'd rather have Brown with Kansas City than Williams. I need, Prescott made it to me to tie it with my quarterback. So there was a lot to like there. So now, so that's a pretty good, gives him a 4th decent option. So Prescott set by week 7. Lloyd's going to miss some time. I don't know. He's not really the handcuff option right now for what's his name there? I'm drawing a blank because I'm seeing too many Jacobs. He's not. He potentially could have been the handcuff, but right now he's going to be out for a while, and I'm not sure that he. When these guys start out and have some injuries, I'm not sure they're going to stay healthy all the way through here. So P. Ryan would be an interesting. So now a wide receiver. This is where we're at the queue. So I like Myers. I think he's playable. Judy is a guy who's a gamble upside. I don't like what's going on with the quarterback with Watson kind of fading. Lockett has a resume. Cooks has got a little banged up. I do think in this one, Tolbert is mispriced. Like as far as in here, I don't know where he gets drafted, but I would prefer to have him based on that price point than Cooks. But but I also know that just look at those wide receivers, and I have 5. There's no reason for me to go and take another wide receiver when I can get potentially somebody later. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having, Myers or somebody, but they're going to go. So Myers just went. Some of those other receivers go. So we got right now the next 3 teams have doubled at tight end. Then we have a tight end, and then we have another double. So I would say the best available tight end on the board would probably be Likely as far as upside. Musgrave is talented, but it's kind of like a big split there. The wide receivers caught 27 touchdowns last year. He showed the ability to make some big plays, but I don't know if the volume is going to be there. Otten was like maybe 47 catches, did okay, and he should improve. I would prefer him, if I had Love and it was a best ball event, I'd be Musgrave, but I mean, Otten's okay. The Stinnett guy, it's messy in Washington. I know he's going to eventually, emerge or something, but I don't know if the role is going to be enough there. More of a late flyer. I would much rather prefer Gesicki as with Cincinnati there. But I would say Team 2 is going to end up taking Likely if he makes it through there. I would imagine he gets by the Conklin team, which might need that player. I have that pairing of Likely and Conklin a lot in the best balls, where I have like a Kelsey up front or a Laporta, and that just the way it breaks pretty good, with the rhythm of it. So let's see here. We're at 42 seconds here. I'm assuming it's 11:10. This draft's actually moving pretty good, considering some minute clock. So we're more than halfway. So Likely went for the third tight end there. So there you go. He says that, team two, you're not getting a tight end, and they're leaving me at the mercy of something. So I have to, consciously, I'm going to have to take a tight end, even though they're not ideal, but finding them as a replacement in this format is extremely difficult. So, as long as I don't have somebody in bye week 7, who is the person I can trust the most to put in my lineup and maybe give me 10 points, So in this format, if you had 4 catches for, 40 yards, that's 10 points. So something like that, 3 for 50, something like that, score a touchdown once in a while, and just not kill you. I do like I said, I do like Gesicki there. I would most likely gravitate towards Otten. He has bye week 11. You got a couple of 14s here. I would imagine, let's see, wrong draft board. So I'm going for the Jets. Was that a handcuff? Yeah, all right. So this is the Breece Hall. He went for the handcuff, and I'm not 100% that Allen's going to be the handcuff. So that's not a slam dunk, but it's all right though. So let's see, Elliott. Does he take if you have Elliott, do you take Dalvin Cook for sure? Or that Williams. This is the problem with Williams. Everybody likes Corum, and that's a tough handcuff. And nobody actually does it. But would he have been better off just throwing Corum here instead of taking McConkey and, what wide receiver is Jameis Williams, or, I don't know, so there we go. Another third tight end. Team two is saying, what are you going to leave me at tight end? But, maybe you like somebody late. But that's all, like I said, that's why this game is interesting, because the styles and the draft flows are so much different, that people just draft different. And even like this team, like when you got Hawkinson who's out, and then you got Schultz and Musgrave, I mean, there could be, you could have a mistake there setting your lineup. I mean, so this guy, the Andrews got with a likely guy, he did catch the break. I was saying earlier, you have to do that, and that kind of worked out really well for him. So I've got a feeling that team is, I think that team's, I'm going to go with that one's Chad, and we'll see that once they release it, later on. All right, so where was I saying? I lost my train of thought. All right, so I'm going to take it. I have to take a tight end, no matter what, because I'm going to, I don't want to be, with so many taken. And I'm going to take the Kansas City running back, just because he might go later in this. I don't even know where P. Ryan goes in this. Where did he go in this other draft? But I'll gamble that he's better than he is. He's a 5th running back on this team. So he went the 15th round over here. I don't know, wasn't thinking about him, but I think that there's tons of receivers. I have 5. I got a quarterback. I know I can get another quarterback. I need to catch the drop off at tight end. I can get somebody that can catch some passes, another guy that can rotate in. So I'm going to take him, and I'm going to take the tight end. The other tight end, he took, team 2 took Otten, which he should. So now this is where we're at the back end of the player pool. So Henry, I don't want. Washington tight end. I got to see this clock here. Sorry, this 49 second. Fant's got, never really done it. Juno Smith had a good year last year for Atlanta. I'm not sure it's going to happen in Miami. Johnson is coming off an injury, but Hill gets in the way. Okonkwo, I think, has upside, and he could surprise. But I think Gesicki is the player that I'm willing to live with at the second tight end because of the Cincinnati situation. So I am going to take him earlier than I should, because, I need to get a body, and I'm okay with him. So, so that's what I'm going to go with. But, I don't, and I imagine he went, where did he go in this? Like Okonkwo in the last round. So I wouldn't mind him in the last round. Let's see. Gesicki, man. Not even get drafted. He didn't even get drafted on that one. Boy, that's going to be an expensive player to pick up. If he does anything in the first week of the NFL season, the defenses sometimes aren't organized, and sometimes these tight ends can score 2 touchdowns out of the gate. But Gesicki was in the 18th round. But I don't really care about the draft order at this time. It's more about getting the players that you need and getting some insurance. So, Ferguson's going to be my starter, as long as he doesn't get hurt. And Gesicki's just an insurance, and it's week 7, so, somewhat earlier in the year. But, I'm okay with it. So Algier, the guy, so So the guy took Lawrence. Yeah, he got the chance to handcuff him again. The guy sniped him. And would want. I don't think either one of us is going to take a second quarterback there. Well, that was probably a mistake, but we'll see who stays healthy there. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but I think the defense is. I mean, the team is coming out different than expected, and it's good. When you draft in different draft positions, you're going to mix up the wide receivers and the running backs and stuff like that, and your decisions are always a little bit different. And it's just kind of reading the board and being comfortable when you're looking at players, which player you think has more value. And probably about this time, some of the teams that feel strong about their position can probably reach out and maybe grab that edge at kicker in a defense. Tucker has been a great kicker in his career, and then the Dallas kicker was awesome last year. So, but it does seem like the inventory at wide receiver is deeper right now. It's still available to some. Actually, they probably caught up. So Tolbert's still there. That would be kind of a break for me because he's Lockett's there. After Lockett, Mooney, maybe a big play, but does better in Atlanta. Gabe Davis up and down. Polk, a rookie in New England. I'm not drafting any New England guys. I don't care. Mitchell, with a running quarterback, he's talented. Downs a little banged up. I'm not as high. Shaheed, a little banged up. I prefer the Perry guy, as I said, in the other best ball format. Bateman, number one draft pick, just hasn't got it done. Yeah, so I mean, out of these things, like I said, I kind of gravitate later when I go to the Tolbert Mims, and Tolbert's the guy with some upside that's kind of mispriced a little bit. So let me see if anybody takes Bigsby as a handcuff, just in case. No, it don't look like that. No. So he went in the 13th round. So I'm at risk right now of losing the handcuff. But like I said, like if he's not on the field much, he could be like a first cut. He didn't do enough last year. If he makes it back to me, I have to be aware of it, and I'll see what happens there. All right, so Chasey from the Giants went. Josh Allen's coming off injury. Goff with Richardson. That's a pairing of quarterbacks. Go to bye week 14, so Goff's going to have to cover that. So that team that has Richardson has Henry on a bye week 14 and Richardson. Let me look at some of the other teams with bye weeks 14. We got Flowers with McLaughlin, not much there. We got Nico Collins. That's probably livable. Pittman, Stevenson, Schultz. We got enough tight ends there. That's okay. Henry, we mentioned that. Bye week 14. Andrews, 2 tight ends. Joe Mixon. So he's going to be down. You can down a tight end. Pretty good tight end position and a lead running back. So he's going to be kind of challenged if he makes it. We got Lamar Jackson is out. So he's out. Lamar Jackson. Robinson doesn't matter. So he's got the Washington backfield set up, which is pretty good. But, the quarterback's going to steal a lot of touchdowns there. And then, let's see, 14, Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels. So he's got a hook up there that's would be off. Stroud's off. Doesn't have a second quarterback. No 14, probably on purpose. Jonathan Taylor. It's kind of spread out a little bit. So a couple of teams, like I said, with a quarterback can get away with it if the other player. Some of these quarterbacks do really well. So there you go. The Tank Bigsby went, but me not reading the board but I mean I would rather have the Kansas City running back than the handcuff, but I could be wrong, and Gesicki was probably the misread by the timing of me, but I mean I probably could have let him go, but I would prefer to have him over the Washington tight end there. So we'll see how that shakes out. But like I said, at this point, you're just trying to get the players that you kind of think that fill your team, and just hopefully it works out and you stay healthy there. Let's see. So the first kickers. So these guys are. So they didn't. So round 17 is when the Dallas kicker went first. the defense ran off before. So in Baltimore, so Jets, Baltimore, Dallas, and sometimes when you do them, like I think the Jets play San Francisco, Baltimore plays Kansas City, Dallas. I'm not 100% who Dallas. I can't remember who Dallas plays in week 1. San Francisco plays the Jets. So I'm kind of not in the frame of mind for the defenses like I have in the past because I was working outside of normal, so I had to take less time in on the deep dives on the team. I would know all the defenses, who I liked and who would improve, and if they had a punt returner and who they drafted and stuff, and just give me a mental picture, which is helpful for when you're doing the projections of for matchups and stuff like that. But some of that will wash out, and we'll see how that goes. And I mean, it's data based on the projections. So Hunter Henry, so Bigsby, Lockett. Let's see here. Yeah, so now we're getting a little more tight ends. So in that last 2, 4, 6, 8 tight ends went in the last 2 rounds and 2 picks. It's just like the tight end position just gets wiped out. That's why, like, when you're looking for, in this format, a wide receiver that can get you 10 points in the waiver wire, you can find them, and you could find them for like $30 or less sometimes. So, depending on how your team comes out. Mario Douglas doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. Tua, all right, there's the handcuff for Tua. So Tua in week 14 is going to be his play. Let's see here. Yeah, so I'm going to see quarterback. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take Rodgers if he makes it back because I'm a stubborn bastard and I'm going to bet my opinion and I'm okay losing. It's not, this is why, my line is that fantasy sports is a selfish game. And especially if you have a partner, you want to make the decisions. And ultimately, when you're playing, with 2 people, you want to be the decision maker. And, sometimes you have to earn it. And if you got 2 guys that are kind of equal, and it's hard to, give up power and stuff like that. But, having a relationship where that somebody, you trust their decision making and you agree with them is kind of important. But, so I had a partner early on, and that line was something I used. It's, it's a selfish game. Hey, I want to put up my money. I want to bet my opinion, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. And the way that I play is I overlap a lot on players that I think. And if I come in one year, I could have a really, really good year. And then there's other years that I can kind of struggle. I've been playing baseball a lot of years, and I think it's over 20 years. And I think, this year, barring a miracle, I'm going to lose money for baseball. But I think I've, in 22 years, lost money like 4 times. And this could potentially be the 5th. I'm not 100% sure. But, so baseball's been pretty good. I haven't had the overall success, and the main events haven't flowed, but I've had enough where they've done it. And then the football, I've kind of been under the radar because I tend to have one team here, at the NFC or something else, or helping somebody. So I'm not as visual. I do write all the content and stuff like that. So I do have a lot of action. I think that this year, me drafting and stuff like that, I think I'll probably have about $25,000 entry fees, which is a lot, but is nothing compared to some of these guys. And a lot of my support is outside with somebody kind of putting it up for me. For me to play in like a $5,000 league or something like that, I need to win my way up the food chain. And that's the way you kind of want it. You win, have a good year, you can kind of, save on the taxes and reinvest it a little bit, maybe play in a bigger event. If you can, have a 2-game winning streak, you can kind of push forward there. So, all right, so let's see here. He's going to take, I don't know what he's going to do, but yeah, so it'll be, I probably should look. I know Cincinnati plays New England the first week, and I know that Seattle plays Denver. So they kind of both, well, I guess Bissett's not a rookie quarterback, but New England's offense, kind of a lot of question marks. Yeah, so right now we got Hebert, Stafford, and Rodgers. And then so this is where I'm talking about. When you look at the best ball things, Watson, Levis, Geno Smith could lose his job. Mayfield, he's okay, whatever. But I mean, I think Rodgers much better. Fields, I think have a job next. So there's like a sharp decline for me. I think Haybear is a good quarterback, but the offense is in transition. So I just took Tolbert. Like I said, he's kind of a value in this to stash somebody and have some upside and being overlooked there. I get me another piece of Dallas. Not that I want to double stack him, but if Lamb ever had an issue, I get a little handcuff there. So right now I'm pretty much I got 5 running backs and then 6 receivers, 2 tight ends. So, and I got kicker in the defense, so I got 3 extra spots. So I'm gonna take. Like I said, I mentioned that I'd taken that Deuce Vaughn. If Dalvin Cook makes it back to me, I'll probably take a shot on him just to see what happens. And then I could take Vaughn later. I'll probably grab another tight end, like maybe the Tennessee tight end, just because they're so hard to get. And then so that's running back. So yeah, so I could take 2 running backs, a 3rd tight end, a kicker, and a defense. But will it break that way? I'm not sure. But so I'm gonna put in Cook in the queue at running back. Haven't drafted him all. Haven't really chased him around, but I guess why not, right? I'll put Vaughn in behind him because he's a guy I actually like. But if I got, if I have both of them, then who cares? As long as one of them does all right, and we'll see what happens there. Yeah, there's no other. Shipley is okay for running back. I guess I should have him in there because I can handcuff Javonte Williams too with like an early down runner. So we'll see what he might go by the next one pick too. So yeah. So that's pretty much at the wide receiver pool. Yeah, if Mims is a guy I would. Quentin Johnston's a guy has slid a lot, but I'm not sure what's happening there. I do think McCaffrey will help later in the year. Wandell Robinson is kind of a possession guy. Thalen had a really, really good start to last year. He's a possession guy, but a little cloudy. The Xavier Legend guy, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Kind of falls in the Debo realm, but it's really messy with the number of options for wide receiver there. Mingo's still there, and they added Johnson. So, kind of cloudy. Bateman, first round draft pick never materialized. Maybe it happens this year for him. Dotson, going from Washington to Philly, I think that's an upgrade that hurts the tight end a little bit, so he could get a little bit. And coverage will definitely favor him, so I think he helps Philadelphia, and that give Hurts a little bump. Then after that, like I said, I don't really like them. A lot of the receivers down there, and a lot of these players are going to be in the waiver wire for sure. And the only other tight ends, so Okonkwo will most likely not make it back to me based on him sitting at the top of the queue. But he, like I said, he won the other one last. If he gets stuck, I could take the guy from the Raiders. Mayer had him on a lot of teams last year. I think he had a lot of talent. The Bowers kid had a little bit of foot issue, and if he has any problems, then he would definitely have more value. So there we go. We had the Parkinson win, and then we had the Hulk, and then we had the first kicker gets taken. So I don't know. I guess an hour and 38 minutes. I went a little further. I guess I talked about some of the players I probably should finish to see where I get on those before I bang out of it. I might as well finish the team. Probably take you another 10 or 15 more minutes. I think this is an hour and a half, and I did 2 of them. Let me see. Let me just make sure I forget about this one. I want to get to find the snippet tool, though. I want to take a picture of this. Just did the draft. Just so, that's we'll have to take the tight ends later, but. Yeah. So, all right, draft board. Jets defense, Dallas kicker. I could have, like I said, waited on a quarterback, but having 2 quarterbacks that you think they will stay healthy is kind of big. Probably Aaron Rodgers at home. Like the first week, I know that he might not be the best playing against San Francisco. Dak with a hookup is intriguing for sure. Butker, another tight end. So now people are looking at the player pool and they're kind of like not liking the options, so they're trying to get the advantages at some other positions. But at some point there is some names that that are still there. Like I said, Okonkwo is a guy that doesn't look like much, but he can make some plays. Mooney was good a couple of years ago for Chicago and really kind of fell off under Fields. I think that he probably could play a lot better under Cousins. Quarterback Stafford, so the quarterback position is pretty dry for me. No sense going there. I would imagine somebody snipes the S-Dime guy. Some people are taking Carson Steele. Jamal Williams probably should get drafted with handcuff for Kamara because Miller guy is out for a while. Because he's on the IR and he's been banged up. He can't stay healthy. Emmanuel Wilson is getting drafted for the handcuff of due to the injuries for Jacobs. He might go in this round too. And if he goes, I would imagine he's going to go to Team 7. But I don't know. That's the back end of the Team 7 seems a little different than. That's probably, maybe that's team based on their Oh, the Dowdle guy from Rico Dowdle. I think he's the guy that has he's getting overdrafted for me. He's just he did all right last year. He had 89 catches for whatever yards, gained only 4 yards per rush. Only had 17 catches, in his resume in college wasn't that great. I know he looked okay on some plays, but his body of work isn't high enough, and I don't think he's explosive enough player to be a lead running back. He's been in the league for 4 times. I just at that price point, when you got Elliott and they had Cook, and he's kind of I don't see it. I don't see him being a good enough pass catcher. That's why I think that Vaughn, he had 2 years of 50-something catches, and he's a really small guy, and you question his if he can handle the hits in the NFL, but in college he had well over 300 touches, I think, in 2 years, so, and he didn't really touch the ball that much last year. Okay, let's see here. This is really kind of moving slow for the rounds, but let's see here. I might as well, just for the kicks, I'll entertain you a little bit. Also, I'll look at the schedule for Dallas just to see what they have. And then I know, like I said, a week 1 schedule. So Dallas week 1. Dallas is playing Cleveland. Sometimes the Cleveland games are kind of wide open. The overrun is 42.5. So, you got the Jets 43.5 at San Francisco. Or Dak, and like I said, Dak tends to be a better player at home. In this case, both players are on the road. I mean, I'd have to play Dak, obviously. If you're going to play a quarterback, a defense. Kansas City's playing Baltimore. Not ideal, but Kansas City's defense was okay last year. They kind of didn't score many touchdowns. Philly's defense probably 2 years ago had a ton of sacks playing Green Bay against Love. Atlanta playing Russell Wilson. Who knows about their defense? Buffalo's playing Arizona. Man, that could be an interesting matchup. I think that Arizona's offense is a lot more improved. They got options, at tight end, wide receiver, running back's okay. Chicago rookie quarterback against kind of a lower tier. The Bears defense could be worth a flyer. We'll see what happens there. Change of coaching staff at Tennessee. So Cincinnati is the big one. They're -9. So that's why it's a little more favorable there. They might hold them to lower points over spreads, 40.5, so maybe like 24-17, 25-16, something like that. So New England may only get 14 points. This game will probably be Houston, Indianapolis will be a little more wide open. Miami against Jacksonville. Miami's got a lot of injuries, I think, out of the gate. The Saints against Carolina. Carolina didn't do much last year, but it could be better. Tampa, I think they have the Tampa offensive coordinator. I think the Giants are sneaky defense, and I think that they actually should